Hi, I'm Drew Larson, the Chief Excellence Officer, CEO, here at Leaders Beverage, and welcome to the Leaders Bar, where we provide education and a little bit of help to the industry and to those of you at home with kegerators who just want your beer to taste right and pour right. Today's short video is going to be on leak testing your gas system. Now, gas leaks cause people a lot of lost money, but even more so just the lost cost of the gas itself. Is if you can't pour your beer, you don't have gas, you're out of gas, you can't pour your beer, then you can't make money. And that doesn't happen on a Tuesday afternoon, it always happens on a Friday night. So let's go ahead and look at how to leak test a system. First thing we're going to do is head over to the whiteboard where I'm going to show you a little bit about how I view gas, kind of like a stream or a river with dams, where we turn off different dams to find out where the leak is. And I'm going to show you how to know whether there's a leak happening without spray bottles or anything else, just like I just sprayed out of my mouth apparently. All right, so let's get at it. Okay, so I'm going to show you now a little what I mean by thinking of gas as in nitrogen, CO2, whatever it is you're using for your gas, as a stream, like a river. Now I've got a couple of different colors here, so hopefully you'll be able to see this. While I like to think that I am an artist of draft systems, I am not an artist of markers and dry erase boards. So please stick with me and just imagine what it is I'm talking about. So, thinking of something as a stream. Let's say here is your primary regulator, and that black isn't working at all, so we're going to go to purple. So you have your primary regulator right here. The first thing we're going to do is check to make sure your primary regulator works. And we're going to do that by, and here's the gas bottle, and that's going in, and then this is going to go out over to all the regulators. But we're going to first make sure that nothing is leaking here by turning everything off, and I'm going to show you, because if we think of this as a stream, when the gas is turned on, the gas is sending that stream downstream to secondary regulator, to secondary regulator, to secondary regulator, to secondary regulator. And if you don't have a bunch of secondary regulators, then it's going to go to something like a gas distribution bar where you have 1, 2, 3, 4, with shutoffs. So you're either going to have secondary regulators or you're going to have a gas distribution bar going to all your kegs. So now your primary regulator is the regulator that's either on your bulk gas, your nitrogen generator, or coming from potentially a gas blender. But the primary regulator is the regulator that's showing you how much gas is left in your system, and then the primary pressure going out. So first we're going to make sure that that isn't leaking. Then if you think of turning that on, it's like opening up the dam of water to go downstream. And that stream has different branches. Well, it's the same thing with gas. So it comes down to the secondary regulator. We turn this all on, we should be able to turn off the CO2 or the gas source and see no drop in the gauges. Because if you were to open up a dam and there were dams downriver that had no leaks, well then there'd be no change in the levels or the volume. But when you have a gas leak, the gas is able to escape someplace, so those gauges can drop. You're going to see exactly what I mean in a little bit. But thinking of it that way, now if the gas comes down and there's no leaks, we're going to shut off all these secondary regulators. Now all the secondary regulators are shut off, and we check the gauges again, they don't drop. We know there's no leaks all the way up to the point of the secondary regulators. Here's where really you see almost all the problems come in. Now these secondary regulators come down to your couplers. Each one of those we're going to say is a coupler. Now, we've already determined that there's no leaks up until the secondary regulator portion. So what we're going to do is we're going to turn on one secondary at a time to check out. Because if we turn on the gas, we pack the system with the gas, then we turn off the primary source of gas. If the leak is in that coupler, it's going to be able to leak out because the gas can make it all the way from the primary regulator out that coupler. And so that's what I mean by gas. And if that one isn't the problem, then we turn this back off and we turn this one on. And we keep going down the line like that. And by doing that, we isolate where the leak is. After we isolate where the leak is, then we can look for it. All right. Let's go over and look at an actual primary regulator gas system and do a little bit of a leak test. Now, if you know me at all, you know I'm going to figure out a way to talk about safety. Well, these big tanks, they're very dangerous if they were to fall over. If this was right here to crack off, so the tank falls over and this hits something and it cracks off, that bottle turns into a missile because all the compressed gas inside, or the liquid gas, sublimates, goes out, turns it into a rocket, goes through concrete walls, and has the potential to do exceptional damage and injury to people. So your gas tank should always be secured to the wall somehow. All right, so let's go in though and talk about leak testing. So here's what I meant by checking. The first thing I do is every single time I change a gas tank, I do this one test first to make sure I have no leaks here. We turn off the gas switch. Now, if the gas switch is off here, the only possible place gas can flow is in this area right here. So if we charged up the tank and turned it on, the dials come up, and then we turn the dials off, or we turn the gas tank off, and there's no movement in these gauges, then there's no leak here. And that's important to know, because if there was a leak, these gauges would drop. Well, every time I change a tank, and every time I change a tank, I still do that because these threads get old and it can fool you into think you have a good seal. So that should be done every single time you change a tank. Now then, if we were to turn this on and we still have the tank off, notice the gauges still don't drop. Our entire system is turned on right now. That means there's no leaks in the system. This is where I meant we have now opened the dam at the front of it, but downstream, all the other little dams are doing what they're supposed to. The couplers aren't leaking. The secondary regulators aren't leaking. So what happens though when there is a leak, these gauges are going to drop, and you're about to see that. So now there's a leak in the system. Our dam is on right now. We turn the dam off, we charge it up, we turn it back off, no leaks. We charge it back up, we open up the dam, and now we turn it off, and watch what happens. See the gauges dropping, and they're dropping very slowly. And of course, this is the gauge that shows you how much gas is left is the one that's going to drop first. But you can see it slowly dropping. That's how we know there's gas leaking someplace. One of the dams someplace is broken, and we got to now find that dam. So what we're going to do is we're going to turn off all the secondary regulators, and we're going to do this again. What we're going to do by doing that is make sure there's no problem with the secondary regulators. If there's no problem with the secondary regulators, then we're going to continue down the stream by opening one dam at a time. So let's go ahead and do that. Well, here I am, out of the blue. We're inside the cooler. We're looking at the secondary regulators. Each one's around 22, and notice what I did was I turned off the gas to each one. Now the gas to each one is turned off. So now we can go back outside and we'll turn off the CO2 source, or the gas source, whichever your gas source is. And if those gauges don't drop, then we know that these dam points stopping the flow of gas is working. If it isn't working and there's a leak, well then this is a difficult situation to be in, because at that point then it's probably in here someplace. Now there's a little hole here that's kind of hard to see. That hole is called the seep hole. If this is bleeding gas out of inside of here, because there's diaphragms and pieces like that, you can put your finger over that, and when you take it off, you'll feel a little, and that helps you find it here. But knowing that we've narrowed it down to here, this is a good place to have a soap bottle and put it on all these joints to see a bubble and figure out where the problem is from there. But this is rarely the problem. It's almost always a coupler. So let's go ahead. Okay, so now we've gone ahead and we've turned off all those secondary regulators inside the cooler, remember? Now we're going to charge the system up. Remember, we've already determined that there's no leak here. So now that it's all charged up, we've got the dam open and all 4 of the secondary regulators are turned off. So those 4 dams are turned off. Now we're going to go ahead and turn off the gas source. And with no gas source, look at that. Needles aren't moving, which means we know there's no leaks in any of the secondary regulators. So we're going to start turning on the lines one at a time. So let's turn on, let's go out, we'll turn this off. It's already off. We're going to go inside, turn on number 1. Okay, it looks like this wasn't the problem. So we're going to turn this one off, and we're going to turn this one on. Now, when I'm talking about this, you know what? Oh man, that's dropped right away. What's going on here? Let's see, let's pull the jumper. What was happening? Oh my Lord, there was no coupler on the gas, so the gas was just coming straight out of here. That's one problem down. Let's go ahead and leave this one off for good then, unless we have a coupler on it. And now we'll check number 3. Now, of course, if you have a cooler that has 60 lines and 60 of these, you might do it bank by bank, like turn on 4, leave the rest off. There's no problem there. Turn all those back on, turn the next bank of 4 off. By doing that, you can at least speed the process up. Once you find the bank that has the issue, then go one by one. But let's go back outside now and find out if this is leaking with this dam open. All right, so we've turned on number 3 secondary regulator inside the cooler, and now we're going to charge the system. All of our gauges are up, and now we're going to turn off our gauges, or our primary CO2 source. Oh, and if you can see, the dials are going down. So now we know we have a leak on line number 3. Let's go back inside the cooler and look for line number 3 leak. Okay, well, we found out that there was definitely a problem on line number 3 because everything else is shut off, and when we turned off the primary gas source out there, the gauges on the regulator dropped. That's how we know there's a problem someplace. So we're going to come back in here. We already knew it wasn't the regulator because when we had this off, there were no leaks, which means the leak now has to be someplace between here and the coupler. So my first guess is it's going to be the gas. And if we open this up, oh, there's a little gas. What are we going to find? Let's turn that off so we're not losing even more. What do we, oh, there's no neoprene seal and there's no Thomas valve. Metal on metal will never, ever, 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 ever work unless it's been soldered or welded or something along those lines. You have to have the Thomas valve. And if it's not a newer coupler, you might want a neoprene too. If you need to know more about the couplers, you can check out actually our video on couplers, where we show you how to take a coupler apart, put it back together, and maintain it. All right, that is a leak test. All right, thanks so much for joining us for this short video. I hope this helped you with how to leak test your system. I know it was a lot of information. It moved very quickly. If you have any questions, please post them below. If you have any stories of crazy gas leaks you never thought you would have found, let us know. That's a lot of fun. Subscribe to our channel if you want to know more or see more of these videos. And hey, I tell you what, keep the good juice flowing. Have a great time with your draft system, and have a nice day.